Hello, I'm Daniel Aguilera and this is my last journal entry. This journal revolves around my learning process, more specifically the learning cycle planning. Well, when I created my learning cycle planner, I decided to work on my writing skills, focusing on punctuation and perfect tenses, since those were one of my weakest points, and I also wanted to know about inclusive education and its difference between exclusive education and integration. So, in order to improve my writing, I focused on finding as much material as I want about obviously past tense and perfect tense and punctuation rules. Anything that I could find, then I started to select it. I choose what I thought would be useful for my purpose. At first, I found a lot of technical tests, a lot of technical texts that I believe were perfect for my goal. But as I was reading them, I figured out that those texts were too technical for me, and instead of helping my development, they were hindered. So I started to select simple texts with direct instructions, easy vocabulary. That kind of material was the most useful for me, so it allows me to practice my skills. In the inclusive part, I started to read about what is inclusion and its meaning, its main features. In this regard, I would say that the texts within the dossier were a big contribution to my learning, especially UNESCO texts who give me a lot of information about the steps needed to reach inclusivism and the features of inclusivism. By my own, I investigated and collect material about exclusive education, since in the dossier it's only mentioned just a few times, and most of the time they use the term of exclusivism as a whole thing involving social, economical, and educational features in one big concept. In the integration, I have also searched for more information, since in the dossier I could only find the difference of inclusivism and integration, and therefore was purely inference. Once that I have the material to work on my writing skills, I started to make some exercises in order to get used to apply these concepts. For example, as you can see here, I have punctuation practices, past perfect, and stuff like that. I also started a personally weekly journal so I could practice my pronunciation and punctuation and ask for peer review. This process was purely producing and having feedback in order to improve. I got this feedback from my teachers and my own. In the part of my learning cycle planning, once I have read about the inclusion, exclusion, and integration, I started to ask my peers about their conceptions about those terms, and in which place we could find our actual educational reality. So I have a grasp of what they thought. I also took notes of what we discussed during class and compared of what I have read from my own. I wanted to check if my conceptions about those terms were the same as my peers and the teachers, in order to know if I was going in the right direction or not. Finally, the reason I chose those topics were to improve my writing. In first place was to improve my writing because, as I said at the beginning of this video, perfect tenses were one of my weakest points. And considering the new methodology and the content of the teacher, this was the perfect opportunity to practice and improve my weaknesses. The teachers also helped me to plan a realistic schedule for my learning, set realistic goals and smart ways to distribute the work so I would not get overwhelmed by the workload. I also choose inclusivism as an ideology because it's gaining a lot of relevance on our educational context. As a future teachers, we need to prepare ourselves to face this challenge. Since now the classroom will be more dynamic, and methodologies should take this into consideration when we plan our lessons. Even more, We will also be dealing with different learning disabilities, therefore it's very important to be prepared beforehand to deal with these issues. It's important to highlight that during the process I faced a lot of troubles. It was not an easy task, and due to my part-time job and time constraints, the whole process was full of problems that I need to think the next time when I plan my cycle planning the next year. Well, that's my journal. I hope you like it, and I see you the next year. Bye.